This meeting via WebEx technology. The Burlington High School Building Committee will hear public comments in person and virtually. Meetings are also broadcast live on BCAT, and audio recordings are being made. This meeting of the Burlington High School Building Committee will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are all welcome to attend this meeting in person. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. And if you are participating remotely, please identify yourself by typing your name on the screen in advance and verbally once you are identified to speak. We request that you turn on your camera, and comments are limited to 3 minutes. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Of course, my paper's sticking together. All right. Is there anybody, I don't see anyone in the audience for public comment. Anybody online? I don't see any hands up. Okay. So we'll move to approval of the July 10th meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Okay. And we'll go ahead and take a vote of all those who are in attendance at the moment. All right. Chris Monaco? Are you muted?
Joe Audubon.
Is Joe on? All right, thank you.
Hi, yes, I was muted, and my vote is yes.
Okay. Megan Wojcik?
Yes.
Melissa Massardo?
Yes.
Eric Conti?
Yes.
Joe Adubato? Approval of the minutes for July 10th, in case you missed.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I didn't miss it.
Okay, I wasn't sure
good.
when you dialed in. Mimi?
I'm going to abstain. Thank you.
Yep. Chris Campbell?
Abstain.
Okay. And Bob Kuna?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Tom?
Abstain.
Okay. And Zachary?
Yes.
And the chair is yes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yeses, 3 abstentions, and no. 0. So it's 10-3-0. All right, let's approve the minutes of July 24th.
So moved.
So moved?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right. Chris Monaco
Abstain.
and Megan,
Yes.
Melissa,
Abstain.
and Eric,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Mimi,
Abstain.
Chris Campbell,
Abstain.
Bob,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Tom,
Abstain.
Zach,
Yes.
and I'm abstained because I wasn't at the meeting either. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yeses, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 abstentions. So it's 7-6-0. All right?
706.
Oh, 706, sorry about that. All righty, so now the next item is invoices for approval.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Doran Whittier invoice number 21 in the amount of $18,000.
Second.
All right. Oh, actually, you should do that one. I'm going to pass it over to Melissa.
Ms. Monaco?
Yes.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Wojcik?
Yes.
I vote yes, 4-0.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve TAPA invoice number 250708 in the amount of $75,000.
Second.
Ms. Monaco?
Yes.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Wojcik?
Yes.
I vote yes, it's 4-0.
Okay.
We need this commitment.
We do, and I can
Okay.
explain that, if that's okay.
Sure.
So what you see on the screen in front of you is a proposal from Dave Cartoonan, Cartoon EDU. Many of you likely are familiar with David's work. He helped with the Fox Hill Project. He's a former journalist. He puts together informational videos that I've talked about this before. They're super consumable, and he's going to come up with about 5 videos. They're about 2 to 3 minutes in length. I'm going to go into it later. I have a slide that specifically goes through each of the pillars that he's going to do. The commitment is for $3,975. We intend to utilize these videos throughout the months of September and October.
I'll
You
make
need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Cartoon EDU proposal for 5 informational videos priced at $795 each for a total of $3,975.
I'll second it.
Any questions? Ms. Monaco?
Yes.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Wojcik?
Yes.
I vote yes, it's 4-0.
And the next item is the budget update.
Yep, so on the budget, we remain on budget. I think at the end of this, TAPE is really winding down their work, and we'll go through the estimate, but they're certainly going to support over the course of the next couple of months in terms of, community outreach and providing information. There is dollars left in the other category, which is really for the town, and a portion of that is allocated to pay consigli for pre-construction services. We just did about $4,000 for Dave Cartoonan. Effectively by, call it November, we will have expended all funds.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then the next item is the Center for Education update.
Yep. So I'm going to start on this. I don't really have a set agenda to talk about this. Actually, Nick, if you can go to the next slide. So questions have been raised by individuals about what the Center for Education is, and frankly, for everybody sitting in this room, we all know what it is. It's the building that we're sitting in that will ultimately become its own separate structure in the project that we are moving forward with. And folks, I think, forget what actually is housed in this building and what will be housed in this building. So on this slide, page 10, you'll see Central Administration Technology. What we're doing with the Burlington Early Childhood Center is actually moving it from its present location, which is basically in old classrooms of the existing high school, and actually moving them to a designed, age-appropriate early childhood preschool, which will have expanded space. And I think that's going to be a massive benefit for this community based on what I know. And so I think we're we're pretty excited about that. BCAT, we just had an interview there. That remains. The Science Center is going to remain in this building, but we're going to move it to a different location. District maintenance and storage there's going to be a portion of that that we'll maintain in here. And then we get into what I will call traditional high school programming. And so when we talk about BECC, early childhood development is a class program that is offered now and will continue to be offered in this building. Robotics, Simon's Youth Academy, and we will maintain a family welcome center, and then the career pathways programs. And Eric, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot to define kind of what Career Pathways is for those that don't know, how it sits in the present building, and what we envision in the future.
Through the chair, and thanks, Terry. I was hoping you'd put me on the spot, because the one thing I wanted to stress to this committee is that these programs are existing programs at Burlington High School. They don't have adequate space. So these aren't programs that we are thinking about doing. These are programs that where the kids are really making compromises now. So starting with what Terry said about the preschool, high school currently was designed as an open classroom. So just like the central office has all temporary walls, they're not very soundproof. The early childhood center are just temporary walls. The walls in the classrooms don't even go all the way up to the ceiling. So Bob Cuna can confirm that, and I think, Bob, that is for the heating and cooling of that space.
Yep.
So is that correct?
That is correct.
So again, I think it's not designed as it was meant to be designed. So redesigning the early childhood center is just taking a high quality program and creating adequate, I think, appropriate space for that program. Robotics now currently is in a sort of a side classroom in the lower library. Again, I think the kids make do. That's a very popular program. The kids are very competitive in that program. We have a lot of corporate partners in that program, again, and we don't have appropriate space for that program. So looking for that. The Simon Youth Academy, we've been a partner with Simon Mall, which is the Burlington Mall, for probably about 10 years. And again, they've helped us renovate and put furniture in some of existing spaces, but they are spread out. There's no windows in the current day academy that we have for Simon Youth Academy. And again, so it's an existing program that's very successful. I think we had 16 students last spring get a high school diploma who would not have gotten a high school diploma. And it's really important that we have appropriate space. And that is in the space, my understanding is that's part of the building that will be torn down. So we're going to need to replace that space, and we don't currently have that space programmed in the new construction that is slated for that building. So that's space that we have to replace from my perspective. The Welcome Center is just basically the student information office. We have centralized registration, and again, we have that now. And so that space needs to maintain there. In the Career Pathways program, we have 2 Career Pathways programs in the business department and in the computer science department. Burlington is, I think, one of 2 or 3 communities that has a computer science pathway. They're one of 2 communities that has a cybersecurity pathway. These are programs that I think separate Burlington High School from other programs and really connect Burlington to the companies that exist within our town. So we currently have these spread out throughout the building. We're reusing other classrooms, and we need to have, I think, appropriate space where we attract a lot of attention. The Lieutenant Governor came to a program this summer. We were at Microsoft. We want to create a space at Burlington High School that we feel promotes the high quality program that we have. And again, these are existing programs that are shoehorned into spaces that weren't designed for them, and that, again, we make do, but the opportunity to build program space for these I think these incredible programs are going to be really important. And if we don't have access to the Center for Education, sort of that pathway space, we're going to have to either expand the current design or find other space that I think will be just sort of more expensive and less accessible by students on the high school campus. So Terry, is that what you were looking for from me?
Yeah, no, and Nick, if you flip back to the slide beforehand, that kind of gives you a breakdown. I've always talked about this building as being about 95,000 square feet when all's said and done, and what you see on this slide is just kind of a visual representation of current spaces and what will be in the future. And I think the big difference there, and I mentioned this in my earlier comments, is that BECC picks up an additional, call it 11,000, 10,000 square feet, which I think is needed based on everything I've heard, and so that's a huge advantage. But I'm happy to take any questions on this. I know folks have asked, like, what is the Center for Education? To me, it's kind of part of the lifeblood of the school, and if it's not here, then where? And I think this committee has voted previously unanimously to say that it needs to be here. And so this is just kind of a further information for people to digest.
Any questions? Can you see if there's any hands up online? For me, please.
Yes, I have my hand up.
Oh, Martha.
Hi. So I have a couple of questions. So first of all, with the BECC increase, I always hear that we don't have enough space at the BECC. I think this is great. Will this also increase the enrollment capacity?
Martha, excuse me, through the chair, may I?
Yes, of course.
Martha, I believe it would. Obviously, this is an integrated program. The ratios are determined, but there is always a demand from the community for our preschool spaces, and I think that we could offer more preschool spaces. Again, I also think that we are utilizing the 2 bathrooms that we're utilizing. We have made adjustments to those bathrooms, but I also think in a renovation, they would be more appropriate for preschool students and the skills that we're trying to teach those preschool students moving forward. So I want to make sure that I answer, yes, we could expand enrollment. Obviously, it would be the mandated students that we have to serve and are typically developing students, but I also think the space would be more appropriate for the programming that we currently deliver.
Thank you,
May I
Eric.
follow up, Chair?
Yes,
Through
a
the chair?
follow-up question, Martha?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, but the follow-up to that is, so I have also heard from parents of students who've been identified as possibly eligible for BECC, but there wasn't room. So that's another concern, and so can you answer whether that would be, we might have fewer of those students who would be able to be served with the special needs? And also, I support increasing the space and upgrading the space for the needs of that population. So if that's true, that's good enough for me. But if we're also going to be increasing the enrollment, both for special needs students and for the neighborhood kids, I would like us to say that in our literature. So it's not just that we're increasing the square footage, but we're also increasing we're improving the service provision, and we're increasing the capacity for serving students with special needs and neighborhood typically developing students. Is that accurate thing to say? And if so, can we include it in the written materials that we put online?
Again, through the chair, Martha, I think that would be an accurate thing to say. I think we would have more classroom space and more appropriate classroom space. I'm not aware of any child that is that we are mandated to provide services for that we are not, and that could be the case, so I don't want to necessarily say that, but having more appropriate space would allow us to serve our students of 3 and 4 years old who we're required to serve, and have more typically developing students that are also a requirement of having an integrated program, as you well know. So we can certainly stress that more in our
Literature.
public information, and I can even make sure that we have some real numbers in there.
Great. Thank you, Eric. And
That would be
I
great.
know
Through the
that-
chair,
Actually,
so-
Megan has a question.
Through the chair, thank you. So Martha, the preschool and the design materials that we have reviewed so far shows an increase of 3 classrooms based on what is
Okay.
currently in the building, and that's been present quite a few times. And also, when students are going through an eligibility determination, the parents are given what is called the parental rights, which outlines a process that families can go through if they feel that their child should be receiving special education services, or they are determined the determination of eligibility was not done appropriately, or they disagree with it. So those processes are explained to families as they are going through that process. So if you do talk to families who feel that they have a child who should be receiving special education services, there is a path for them to find out, what other mechanisms they can use to get their child services if indeed that is the case. So that's one other option that you can present to families if they come to you and say, oh, my child should have been found eligible for services, but they're not.
Thank you.
Through the chair, may I
You have another
respond?
question?
So I'm glad you explained all that, Megan. That's stuff I'm familiar with, but it's important. And I'm glad to hear, I wasn't aware, because I had never looked through for this information, but having 3 additional classrooms means that we are increasing capacity, and that's very valuable. So I appreciate that. And I think we want to not just say that there's 11,000 square foot more, but that there's going to be 3 additional classrooms and the space will be more appropriate. So I just want to encourage us to communicate all of that at the same time. And I have another question about this chart, if I may. Through the chair,
I
unless
was just
other
going to say,
people-
I at Celebrate Burlington, I was communicating just what you were asking us to do, so the word is getting out, and I'm sure you'd like something in print as well, and we'll try and get that on the website.
And then, so my next question, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. So on the page 10, the next page, which we looked at first, we specify the early childhood development. And it's my understanding that's not part of the BECC. That's part of the high school programming, where there's a classroom and students take classes, and they do work with preschool students. But this is being listed as a space in the Center for Education. So can you just briefly explain to me how that will be working? Is there a separate classroom for that teacher and those classes?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. And I just think, again, Terry, when you presented this, it sounded to me like you were saying the BCC and the early child were somehow the same, and I think most people are not going to know the difference. So I think, again, we should be pretty clear when we speak about it. And I have one other question, or comment and question, if I may, through the chair.
Go ahead.
So my last comment is the career pathways, which are really, I think, really important parts of our high school programming. And I think a lot of people who are just starting to tune into this new high school program are wondering, about some of the people who don't have kids in the district and who are maybe older residents are like, well, what happened to shops? What happened to career and vocational programming? And those that we just described on page 10 are the ways that we know many high schools no longer have wood shop and auto shop and those things, but that Burlington High School has looked at what are the career pathways for the future, and we have computer science, and we have business, and we have the robotics, and those, and the cyber security. And I think that I would like to see us specify that as career programming. Even if students are getting certification in early childhood, that these are career programming that we are offering at Burlington High School. It looks different than the old style comprehensive high school, but they are career and vocational programming that we're offering, and in particular, we're offering it in this building. So that's, I think, an important piece. And I think it's also important, on page 9, it's not listed anywhere, and yet it still adds up to 95,000 square feet. So if we could please not post this chart, but add where are those programs? Is that going to be in that category, the bottom category called open program future tenant space? Are those
Martha,
career pathways going to be part of that 18,000 square feet, or are they somewhere else?
Martha, I believe you're looking at an older version of the presentation that was sent out
Okay.
yesterday. If you look on
Okay.
the screen and what will be posted, that space
I see,
is
it is under there.
allocated.
So it is the
It is.
18,000?
Yes.
So,
That
okay,
is
thank
the
you.
That is the intention. So just
Okay,
to
and
be-
so therefore,
so,
we are
excuse
actually
me,
not
Martha,
seeing any-
Martha, let me finish.
Okay,
That space is the second floor of the Center for Education. Working with the school district, if they want to pursue that space for career pathways, that presently, in the current design, is an open space. And which is why when you saw it, it said open tenant.
Okay.
We have not allocated funds to fit out that space, but if the school decides to do that, they have every opportunity to do that. And I just want to make sure that's absolutely crystal clear, because we're about to go through quite a few numbers, and I don't want anyone to tell me or say that, well, you told us that you were going to fit out that space. That's not
Okay.
what we intended to do.
okay, so the space is available for those career pathways. And that would fit in the 18,000 square feet out of the 26,000 square feet on the second floor? Is that the right way to read it?
It is. So if you look at those two numbers on the first and second floor, those are square footages that are actual spaces. And then, as you are aware, there's bathrooms, hallways, janitor's closets, you name it, that make up the
Okay.
rest of that space.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Anybody else have a question?
Yep, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
It isn't really a question. I wanted to make a comment about the preschool. So depending on what a child needs, they go into different programs, and we don't have space to house all the various programs that we might need. So I think one of the benefits of having a larger space, and possibly even some of the second floor, is we may not have to outsource as many kids as we do now, because we'll have the room in this building to provide the programming that kids need, and Burlington kids that our kids need, and we won't have to be sending them to other programs because we don't have a fit. So I think it's really important to leave open the possibility that a lot of space, not just the cafeteria, but a lot of space in that building could potentially end up used for special education and the preschool program model. That's it.
Thank you, Chris. And Mimi?
I was just going to say that I appreciated the points that Martha was making, and really what I'm hearing is you're seeking crystal clear clarity so the public who goes onto the website understands exactly what is being proposed. So I just wanted to express appreciation for that. Thank you.
No, thank you. And Megan?
Thank you. I wanted to piggyback on what Chris said. You know, if we do have space available for increasing BECC programming, that does also save in transportation costs for students as well, not just the programming themselves, but the transportation costs, and it's a volatile cost that the district takes on as part of their obligation. So I think it's a great point that she made, and a great opportunity as well.
Agreed.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Any other questions?
That's Chris and Martha.
Chris Campbell?
I guess I'm going to ask a question that will likely come up is what happens if we didn't do that 18,000 space? Is that part of the building itself, or would it just necessarily be chunked out?
It's effectively the second floor
Yep.
right now that has classrooms in it.
Yep, okay.
So it will be, we're going to renovate it one way or the other.
Yep.
And by renovate, I mean walls, open space.
Yep,
But
okay.
we'll have all new.
A blank
electrical,
space.
plumbing.
Yep, perfect.
It's like your unfinished
And-
attic.
It's an unfinished
And through-
room.
It's more than unfinished.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a finished
Yeah.
basement.
Yes.
It's got, yeah,
Finished basement.
a finished basement, right, with nothing. We can design it however we want. It's a blank space to design.
It's an open.
Oh, no,
But through the chair?
Yes.
And Chris, I want to make sure I stress this. People are calling it a blank space, but we don't have space for those programs in the current main building design. So we either need to add that 18,000 square feet to the new building, to the new construction part of the new building, or put it someplace. So this isn't a luxury. This is space where we need this programming for, whether it's BECC space, if that's what's needed, or pathway space. This space currently exists, or even the Simon Youth Programming space that currently exists in the building that's going to be torn down. So I just get uncomfortable when people say it's sort of unfinished or unneeded. We need to finish it out, and we will do that. We will look for corporate sponsorships. We'll look for the Simon Youth Foundation. We do that presently, but this is not going to be under or unutilized space. If we don't renovate this part of the building, or for some reason, Terry, I'm not sure if it's even possible, you don't create this space, it's part of the building, I don't think you would tear it down, we would need to add that to the other part of the building.
thank you, Eric. Anyone else? Okay. So the next item is the project estimate.
Yeah. So before I even get into this, I am going to at least acknowledge that our construction manager, Consigli's here, Christy Lyons, Bill O'Rourke. You guys, I know we were on the last meeting, but this is an opportunity to, I don't know.
Reintroduce yourselves.
Reintroduce yourselves.
Right. Some people were not present, so.
Right.
Sure. So I'm Bill O'Rourke. I'm Director Project Executive with Consigli Construction. So I'm the team leader from now all through pre-construction, construction, and closeout.
And I'm Christy Lyons, pre-construction executive. I will be leading the charge for pre-construction, really the next 1.5 to 2 years. I'm a Burlington graduate, so I'm excited to be here, and it's nice to see everyone in person.
Thank you. All right.
Right, so this is what we've all been waiting for. I gotta turn this on, don't I? Or is it? Yeah, there we go. So as I've described over the course of the last several months, Consigli came on board in early July. Chris and his team produced the schematic design package of drawings, I think on the 21st of July. Both Consigli and an independent estimator called PM&C spent about 3.5 weeks basically doing takeoffs of all those drawings and doing independent estimates of the design. That culminated in both of them producing estimates to our collective teams on Monday. I can tell you we spent 10 hours yesterday going through it back and forth to try and ensure that each estimator, Consigli, the design team, ourselves, are all looking at the job in the same way. So, one, I'd like to thank all those folks because there's a massive amount of work over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And what I'm happy to report is, you'll remember when we came out of PSR, AR8, as it was called at the time. I still don't think we've come up with a better name, but we will. That number was at around $267.5 million between the two estimators. If you look at this sheet here, and I've printed it out for those that can't see it, if you look on the bottom of the page there, total construction costs of between 267.4 and 269.9, basically 270 million. Those are the two estimates between our independent estimator and Consigli. So they're about 1% apart, and that's kind of where we would expect it to be at this juncture. And I think it's a credit to the team that we kind of ended up where we thought we were, but so those are the numbers, and I think I said a long time ago, this project's going to start with a 3, so if we just say it's $270 million for construction, I've always talked about the adder of 25%, and what that includes is 5% of contingency for the owner and 20% of other costs that include things like fees for myself, our firm, for the architect, for FF&E, technology, and all of these other costs, which for those of you that worked on Fox Hill, forms what becomes your project PFA, right? And that's what it's called, Chris? So your budget. And so the intention for us over the next 3 weeks is to fill out what's called a 3011. It's what the MSBA uses. It's a very standard format that Consigli, TAPE, and ourselves are used to, and we will fill that out. And so so I'll pause there to take some questions, because I do have a recommendation. We have a recommendation as to what we should do, but I know this is a lot of information. This literally is, the ink is drying, as the case may be.
That's right. All right, any questions? I'll go in the room first. And could we look and see if anyone has any questions online?
I guess Eric's hand before.
Okay.
Terry, could you draw a parallel? This is Eric. Could you draw a parallel to sort of where this is headed? Are these are real numbers for where we are now, but as the process, as the design moves forward, so if we pick a number, $340 million. Sorry, pick a number. What we're saying is we're not going to go over that number, that we have to, whatever we decide from now on, and as the design evolves, we have to fit in under that number. Is that sort of what I'm thinking?
Yes, so, and for the benefit of those that haven't been party to these discussions previously or other meetings, the intention is to go to the select board tomorrow with a number that's not to exceed. So in the example that you just gave, Eric, that number would be 340, and the teams here are all very comfortable with going with that number, and we are going to basically fill out that other 20% of other cost fees and have that line by line. And so the number that we come to the select board and town meeting, I believe on the 10th of September, will be a very defined budget with every category, and that is the budget that Consigli, TAPE, and ourselves will work towards, and to the extent as we go through design development, we do another estimate. So if we are over that number, we then have to do value engineering to get below it. Like, that's the number that's set, that's the number that the town has agreed to bond, and it's our job as a team to ensure that we stay under that number. So, right now, for the purposes of tomorrow, it's a not-to-exceed number. What I can tell you is that the number that comes out in 3 weeks' time isn't going to be too dissimilar. It's just going to be much more detailed, similar to what you see on the construction side of things for all of those other costs. I hope that makes sense.
Any questions after Carrie's comments?
Doug?
That's Doug.
Doug?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to just talk a little about the alternates, the ad alternates that are at the bottom. I realize that doesn't change the bottom line price because what we're going to do is the estimated cost of the project. But I feel like even including ad alternates in something where there's no state assistance in this, and we've promised the town that we're going to be we're going to bring a quality facility, but we're going to be as cost conscious as possible. So, you know, a $9 million alternate and a $4 million if we did both, that's a lot of money. But even if you did just the field house, I feel like that's a big enough difference, and it's not just restroom and concessions, it's actually adding more than what's there. It doesn't send the right message to the town. I know that my committee will have a hard time with that, and I think you'll get some real pushback and maybe even some no votes. And so I would be much more comfortable if what we committed was this is our not to exceed number, and if we save $5, then that $5 is money that we're not going to borrow.
Thank you, Doug.
Just on that point, Doug, so that folks are clear, you'll see at the bottom, there is earmarked for restroom and concessions, but it's not the field house that we've discussed previously. So the restrooms and concessions at Varsity Field are a part of the project, and I don't think anyone is opposed to that based on the numerous conversations we've had about this. But I take your point about the field house, and so that's
Right.
entirely up to this committee to determine what you want to do. The numbers that you see here, that 267 to 269 numbers, and the adders for the total project cost put it between 334 and 337.5. You know, I think our recommendation at this current juncture is to go with, call it 337.5 to the select board tomorrow, or call it 340 on the basis that, you know, this is all public. So there's you know, we're not hiding anything. The estimates are there. The number's going to be below 337.5. And so I think it's just picking that number and letting us know what to submit to John and Patrick tomorrow, and we'll move forward.
I think what Doug was suggesting is to remove the field house and the geothermal.
Yep.
And then going with a number of 337.5 or 340 if we feel more comfortable with 340, but we need to agree on that.
Correct.
So any discussion from this group in terms of removing the two bottom parts that really aren't included in the costs?
Madam Chair, I would respectfully comment.
Go ahead, Eric.
And Doug, please, all due respect here, we may end up there, but I'm not sure it's the right time to do that yet. Because we would need to have something to take out as the design gets more developed and the costs become more certain, if that makes any sense. So I'm not saying I need to commit to a field house at this point, but I'm worried that if we take everything out, then what will be value managing down the road are going to be things that are going to be more critical than the field house. So I'm not sure I'm explaining myself well, Doug, but I just want to say that I think we need to pick a number and then know that we're not going to be there, but that doesn't mean I'm committing to, or this group is committing to those alternates, if that makes any sense.
It does
Through
to
the
me.
chair.
So what you're saying, you want to pick a number, Eric, and if we're able to build the field house within that number, you want to leave it on there in case we can? That's what you're saying.
I'm saying that then that gives us the opportunity to make that decision when we have a firmer number. I'm not saying I'm committing to it, but if we take every alternative out and we pick a number, we know we can't exceed that number, then all of a sudden what we are value managing are things that I think might be more critical. But again, Doug, I understand what you're saying completely as well. I'm just wondering the timing of it and when it's appropriate to have that conversation. I'm not questioning anything you're saying. I'm just questioning the timing of what you're saying. And if we take it out now, and let's say prices drop, or we when the program comes in and we can save some money and borrow the same amount and potentially add some, for that same price, that might be the time to have that conversation. And I'm not sure I'm saying this as well as I'd like to right now.
Well, just through the chair.
Yes.
My concern is, and where you're not, I may not be understanding, but I think I do. The total project cost does not include those two. Those are add alternate. So those would come into play if we save. So say we come in $5 million under budget, and so we have the ability to borrow 340 or 337.5 or whatever the final number. I assume there's a chance we might lower that number at town meeting. But whatever our not to exceed number is, these are not included in that estimate. So it would mean that we saved $5 million. What I think we need to commit to the town is, instead of spending that $5 million on something that really didn't go through the full planning process and the discussion, instead we'll just return. We just won't borrow that $5 million, and I think that's an important compromise. Or we're talking about a $340 million bond. And on the geothermal side, I think that this committee made a decision already not to do geothermal, looking at all the costs, and decided that it was not the best choice, even spread over a 30-year cost estimate. And so I would again say, we have $14 million in add alternates here, and a $325 million bond is just a nicer thing to come back in the end and say, okay, we really were serious and we were really trying to save the money that we could save. This is such a large project that, expanding it to include a field house, I think is not gonna, even if that's as an option, because my committee's gonna look and say, what you're saying is, instead of saving $4,152,000, you save some money, so now we're going to spend it on something else. And I don't think that it's going to be seen that way. That's my point.
Right. Thanks, Doug.
Again, Doug, I appreciate that. Terry, I'm just wondering if we take it off the conversation tonight, does that take it off then as a possibility moving forward? So I guess, Doug, that's my question is, are you saying that in no way should the field house, the $4 million addition, show up in this project at all?
That is what I'm saying is my personal opinion, but I think you really hurt the project if we throw it out there as a field house as another standalone. I think it needs to go through a little more process to justify its existence than, hey, somebody wanted a field house and we're going to throw it on here. If we can save $5 million somewhere, we'll throw it in. I just think that's a big thing that really hadn't gone through anything. But yeah, I guess in the end, the school committee could, if the money's out there, I just don't want to commit to it now and say, hey, yeah, remember that was an add alternate there. And we said,
so
opposed to it.
Doug, again, through the chair, and Catherine and I will stop after this. Doug, I don't feel I would classify or describe a field house as throwing it in. Ever since we renovated Varsity Field, which is now God, 15 years ago, 14 years ago, we had the actually connectors for a field house. We just didn't have the funding at the time to do that. So we've been talking about a bathroom facility, a larger facility for a long period of time. Maybe now's not the right time. I understand that. Please, I'm not arguing with your point. All I'm saying is this isn't something that's sort of that hasn't been thought about. Maybe this isn't the right time or the right project to include it in, but I just want to, what the feedback I'm getting is people want to see bathrooms, an expanded bathroom facility at Varsity Field. So I don't know when we do that, how we do that, but I think as an ad alternate, it at least recognizes that we've been talking about this for a while and we're thinking about that need.
Restrooms and a concession stand are included in the project at $1 million.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
It's the extra $4.5 million for field house, which are locker rooms that we
Eric,
don't really need to add.
The restrooms and concessions are included in this project. What's not included is the field house.
Correct.
So I wanted to make that clear to everybody. And then I think, Megan, you had a question, then we'll go to Chris.
Thank you, Catherine. So does the current or potential design for the bathroom facility have room for expansion for the field house if we wanted to just do that as a capital article later in, a few years down the road? Is the building, the design that you may have already started or, ideas that you have, does it allow for that to be built?
Chris, bless him.
Yeah. I think partially. What we put down there was a 2-story element where the second story was a part of the sort of gathering of the field house, which could host like workout spaces and things like that adjacent to the field itself. And so that part might be tricky to add later, but the way it's designed right now is the team rooms were on the flanking outside edges of where the bathrooms are.
Okay.
And so we could build the center part with concession and bathrooms, and then you can add on to it in the future if you decided to.
Okay.
So that part I can conceive, it's just the upper part.
Okay, and I have one additional question. So if we were to build a field house in addition to the restroom and concessions, would there be an expanded restroom facility? Like how many more bathrooms would be in the field house if it was built, or would it just be the team rooms and workout space?
Yeah, so when we build the restrooms, we have to build them to the capacity of the field.
Right.
And so adding team rooms adds like a fixture or two per the team rooms for the teams to use.
Okay.
But it's not the public, really. And so I don't think it's adding capacity.
Okay, thank you.
And just to add a little more color to this, as we go out and do this job, a year and a half from now, we're going to go out and bid it, and it's going to be based on a design. And if the bids come back and we're 10 million under and you say, well, we'd like a field house, I'm going to tell you, well, that's a different job. I'm going to say, make that its own job, because everybody's going to bid the job that we design. And we're not going to go back to every single contractor and say, well, no, we want to add this in. It would just be its own separate project.
Right.
That would be my recommendation. I don't know, Chris, you tell me if I'm crazy. At some point, you can't just say, oh, well, we want a whole new building on this job when we're about to start building it. It just doesn't work in the world of construction
Melissa?
without paying for it.
I just want to say that I agree with Doug, and I'm happy to remove the field house portion, knowing that we have restrooms and concessions, which I think are kind of the bare minimum that the town expects out of a renovation, in the effort to, just like Doug said, I don't want there to be an argument that we're getting a gold-plated high school and that we're not building the Taj Mahal. We need a place we need to get rid of porta potties, right? Like that's where we're at. And we have locker room space, I believe, in the renovated build that we'll be renovating. So I think that would be a great future capital project. But I'm happy to take both of those out.
Right, and Chris? Campbell.
So I was going to agree with Doug as well. I think we need to be very clear about what this project is and isn't. And the moment that we have this opportunity and then try to slide something in, we're going to lose the confidence of the voters, of the taxpayers. And so I think when we say this is our not to exceed, I think Burlington is expecting us, yes, not to exceed, but if that then does not hit, they expect that to come back, just like they do with all of the warrant articles that go through town meeting. So I would implore us to knock these off. I know it can be early, but we need to be very transparent. This is the project, this is the number, this is what we're doing, and it's not a wait and see, it's a here's our final, because when the voters vote on this, both at town meeting and then potentially in November, if that's what we do, they're gonna expect that, and surprises is not gonna help selling this.
And I think if we can design it so that you can do it in the future, it makes a difference. So if we're pre-planning for that separate project and pre-designed it as we did to put it in, put it where it is, that it will help a lot. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Eric, but I also, agree that what the town wants is the restrooms and the concessions. And it's difficult. I mean, it's like, yeah, we can use the extra money, but I think people want to see the savings because there is a debt exclusion vote for this. So, no, not what you want to hear, maybe, but
Mimi.
Who has their hand up? Mimi?
Yeah, I've had my hand up. When we talk about what the town wants to see savings, I don't think the town is a monolith, and that when I talk to people in the community, depending on their age demographic, whether they have children or not, how long they've been here, so forth, so on, they are seeking or asking different kinds of questions. And in Precinct 1, in the Fox Hill community, parents with young children, what I hear from them is they very much would like to see a field house. I'm not advocating for that, but what I want to make clear is that I don't think there is this monolithic entity out there and that there's great agreement on where the savings should be. I concur with everybody who has acknowledged that we need to be serious about what our bottom line is and not contradict that. But I also heard from I don't know if it was Terry or Chris, I can't remember now, saying to some extent, if we remove the ad alternate, it does impact future building because it's not fully designed to incorporate a field house. So while I too want the bottom line to be observed, I wonder if it is premature to remove it at this time, because I don't think we've had a full-blown discussion with community input about how committed or not people are to the field house. As an involved parent, I can tell you, I hear comments about this often. So I think for some members in the community, it is a priority, and for others who want, who are looking at numbers alone, perhaps removing both the geothermal and the field house would be preferential. But at a project this size, I just want to make sure that we don't do anything preemptively that isn't necessary, especially before discussion. So that's where I stand on this. Thank you.
Well, Megan, and then I'll take.
Thank you, Catherine. So respectfully, Mimi, I'm wondering if families understand the difference between what the field house offers and the restrooms and concessions. Like, I'm wondering if they think, oh, the field house is the restrooms and concessions. If I wasn't so involved in the project, I might think that. So that's one of the things that I think when they hear field house, they're thinking restrooms, concessions. They're not thinking locker rooms and a couple additional bathrooms and workout equipment. So I'm just kind of wondering if that's where their passion is coming from, because I think we're all pretty passionate about having bathrooms down at Varsity Field. I think the entire community is, which may be where that fever is coming from.
So through the chair, could I just respond to that?
Sure.
It's a good point, and I think maybe on the website, if, as Martha was talking about before, there attention could be drawn to this issue and with clarity, that the plan involves concession stands and bathrooms. A field house is something, if all of this is explained, because I think depending on how much, who the person is, some have more awareness than others. And so it's a legitimate point, and it can be addressed through very clear writing on the website about it.
You getting that?
Thank you, Mimi. Did you wanna make a comment,
We're
Melissa?
looking for a school committee vote here, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
well,
right.
based on the number
Okay.
that we
So
agree on, so
one of
we,
you two has to move a number.
right. But I think the problem with moving the number
Okay.
Hey,
is
Chris
that
has a
we're,
question.
are we leaving these two things
Right, but
as
move a
part of
number,
that?
yeah.
Right, so, yes, Chris?
So I would suggest that we take a stand on that as a committee, whether we want to include it or not. And I'd also suggest we do it each one separately. And then that way, at least if we decide to vote it in or not, and I know it's ultimately a school committee's decision, but as a building committee, we said, this is something we want included, or this is something we do not want, knowing that the school committee could still change that. But that is what we have a committee here for.
Thank you, Chris.
So I'll move that we eliminate the field house alternative from the shoulder project cost.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All right, so I will go through and take a vote of this committee to keep or remove the geothermal.
Field house.
Oh, I thought you said the geothermal
Field
first.
house.
I'm sorry, the field house.
Wait,
Yeah.
so is the geothermal gonna stay then?
Well, for now.
Vote on it separately.
Okay.
We don't want
Like
to,
separate.
yeah, because, right, we don't want to say wipe them both off. We want to have an individual
Okay.
vote on each.
Thank you.
Okay. Chris Monaco?
No,
Okay, and Megan?
Yes.
And Melissa?
Yes.
Okay. Eric?
No?
And Joe? Is Joe still?
Sorry, no, no.
No? Mimi? Are you a no or yes?
I'm sorry, I was muted, I didn't realize. The answer is no.
Okay, and Chris?
Yes.
I'll remove it, yes. Bob?
No.
Not going to remove it. Okay. Doug?
Yes.
Neil?
No.
Okay. Tom?
Yes.
Martha? If you're answering, you're muted.
I think Martha jumped off the call.
She dropped?
She's no longer on the call.
She's no longer, okay. That's her off. And then Zachary?
Yes.
Remove it. And I am going to say yes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yeses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 noes. So, again, 7 yeses to remove and 6 noes. So it will be removed.
I move that we remove geothermal as an alternate.
Second.
Okay? Chris?
yes,
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mimi? Unmute.
I'm confused about what the vote is.
We're removing the geothermal now, or yes or no?
Oh, it's the geothermal. Oh, I see. Okay, yes.
Chris Campbell?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Zachary?
Yes.
And the chair is yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 13 yeses and no nos. Okay, no abstentions. All right, so now we have to decide on our number.
So if you, Nick, if you can just go to the next slide. So, working with John Denizio, the town administrator, and Patrick Lawler, who's the assistant town administrator, with the guidance of council, this is the language that ultimately will be put in the warrant. And so I don't need to read all this. I know all of you can do that, but you will notice a particular blank, which is what we need to fill in. So to see if the town will vote to borrow the sum of blank. And so I think, our recommendation is at 337.5, you're fine. If for now you want to, round that to make it 340, that's fine. I'm just telling you that 337.5 is what we're working with, and we're going to be coming under that. So it's really kind of up to you all.
So I kind of would like people to speak up on what they would prefer, the 337.5 or the 340. Anyone want to give any, Megan?
I would say that we round up to 340, just because of the way the market is and any potential issues we have space.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's, I agree with that, but if anyone disagrees, please speak up now. Chris?
I mean, general question, because it tends to keep coming up, is this tariff situation.
Yeah, so you will notice, and I have not provided the detailed estimates that will be shared with you all after this meeting and posted to our website. We did include, I want to say 2.5%, 1.5% on, for a tariff allowance. Tariffs are really tricky right now, and what I can tell you, and you will have seen this on Fox Hill, is that, steel numbers are lower than when they were originally estimated, and that's taking into account tariffs. And so we've allocated some funds. And I probably should have gone through this. This estimate includes a ton of different contingencies, okay? It has a GMP contingency. It has contingency for the builder. It has a design and pricing contingency. It has an owner's contingency. And so, our expectation is as we firm up the design, is that those contingencies come down, and ideally the number keeps coming down as you utilize those contingencies. So we do have a bucket that's specifically allocated for tariffs. What I can tell you is that the tariff situation and the impact on prices is right now
Waiting outside.
kind of an anomaly. Like, it's very difficult to tell how much that is affecting prices. But we've accounted for it, and, I think we're pretty confident. I mean, these guys are in the market building jobs right now, TAPE is as well, and we're seeing it on jobs that we're building. So I think, like I said, we've allocated funds for it, and I think we're going to deal with tariffs as to what we know today. If I knew what 6 months was going to happen in the federal government, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
So that's, but Chris, it's a really good question. And know that we're all focused on it, and we've allocated funds to deal with an increased prices on materials.
Thank you.
So
And
I'd like
Megan?
to make a motion to set the not-to-exceed number for the project to be $340 million.
Do we need to wrap that into this motion here? Should we just read this?
We'll read the whole thing out, yes.
Wanna read
I
the
think we
whole
should.
thing?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so Article number to be determined, article name BHS construction project, amount not to exceed 340 million, to see if the town will vote to borrow the sum of 340 million for the purpose of paying costs of project management, design services, constructing, equipping, and furnishing a new and renovated Burlington High School, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to MGL Chapter 44, Section 7, provided, however, that any borrowing approved thereunder shall be contingent upon approval of a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion referendum under MGL Chapter 59, Section 21C, K, or to take any action related thereto.
Thank you. I'll second that.
Any discussion on this? Ms. Monaco?
Yes.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Wojcik?
Yes.
I vote yes, 4-0.
Thank you. All right.
Right, huge step. So that's great. And just so everyone's aware, and I'm going to get into this, but I'll touch on it now. So our typical SBC meetings are the second Thursdays of each month. Because of the timing of town meeting and when final numbers need to get put into the book to get printed, I'm going to actually request that we move our next meeting up by 2 days to meet that schedule. You have a school committee meeting on Tuesday, I think it's the 9th. We would meet at 6. I'll go through that together, but I just want to throw that out there. So, and the schedule that I have up, well, if you go to the next slide, Nick, this schedule is the same one, and just for the purposes of the general public that might not be aware, we are submitting this number to the town tomorrow. We need to provide final numbers on the 10th, and materials get printed on the 12th, submitted out to town meeting members. The town meeting is on the 29th, and if it's successful there, which requires a 2/3 vote approving the measure, the expectation is that we have a debt exclusion vote on the 15th of November. So that's kind of the immediate schedule, and I have another slide here that identifies a bunch of different meetings that I'll go to. So, and this is kind of what I just outlined. I must know it well because it's the same dates. So I'll pause there and take any questions.
I just wanted to say, I know we got an email about the date of the debt exclusion vote is not written in stone yet. And
Yeah,
no
so-
one's committed to it.
Timeline was voted on by the select board with the proposed date of November 15th on a Saturday.
Yes.
Right.
So that timeline was agreed to.
So I need to work with the town clerk's office, and you'll notice here at the bottom, and this was actually printed before we got that notice, that we need to formally reach out to the town clerk to request a schedule outlining key dates and deadlines associated with a special election, and that really has to do with mail-in ballots, early voting. So part of what I will do tomorrow is, one, convey what you just approved to John and Patrick, but I'm also going to include the town clerk to say, one, apologies for the miscommunication. Obviously, we had been in touch with the select board and the town administration as early June, identifying the 15th, but I'm going to offer to meet with the town clerk to kind of work through that, and hopefully we can keep the 15th. If it needs to move, it will move. But I'm hopeful that that's not the case. So I will end up, obviously, copying everybody on this committee so that you'll see that notification go to the town. And I'm hopeful that it's not going to be a problem.
Right, and I believe that date was provided to the select board a month earlier as well. So, like I
Yeah,
said,
no, we-
hopefully,
we-
it's something that we've, all have heard more than once.
Yep.
So I just wanted to
I'll
make
work
that
with the
clear as
town
well.
clerk to hopefully agree that date. You know,
Excellent.
that's the intention. So if we go to the next slide, Nick, just on community outreach, we've had a few things going on that many of you have attended, whether it was Celebrate Burlington or Public Safety Night, where the probation officer shouldn't hand out whistles to children in a covered parking lot. But, you know, apart from that, you know, I think some pretty successful events in that a lot of people generally interested in what the high school project is. I think a lot of enthusiasm for it, which is great. And we're just going to continue to build on that and get information out to the public. Catherine mentioned we had the select board meeting on the 11th. We just actually, Christy, myself, Catherine, had an interview on BCAT about the project, which I think is going to air in mid-September. So that was another good, you know, kind of content outreach point. We will have a community meeting next week, which will be virtual, and my guess is that we're going to kind of show, as the design is developed and there's renderings that show more and more of the project, but I'm sure folks are going to have questions about cost and schedule, and we'll answer all of those. So I'm looking forward to that. There is a planning board meeting on the 18th. I've been in touch with them, and I think rightly should give them an update leading into town meeting. We have reserved the auditorium at Marshall Simons for a meeting with town meeting members on the 25th. That's a few days in advance of town meeting to answer any questions, provide any additional information. I will say that, you know, I'm aware of the beer garden events that are every Thursday through September. I think we'll have a presence there. I will say that I think I'd rather go to a Little League game than the beer garden. The beer garden attracts not just folks from the town of Burlington, it attracts folks from everywhere, and that I'm basing that on the experience from last year. Happy to have a presence there, but I think there's going to be other Burlington community events in September and October that will get to call it the end user, which I think is important. So we will continue to develop those things. I have spoken to the director at the Council on Aging, assuming we have a successful vote at town meeting. We are scheduled to meet with the council and folks that are in that group on the 14th of November. Doug has kindly accepted my request to attend, because without him, I think I'm going to be in trouble. But so that's specifically to deal with that community, and I know one of the principal concerns is the cost and the impact on taxes, and so that's something that we're going to be prepared to answer. And then obviously the debt exclusion vote, if we can agree for the 15th of November. So those are dates, and then I wanted to just touch quickly on Dave Cartoon and what we agreed to do previously. For those of you that were involved with Fox Hill, he produced videos there. I know that the district uses Dave for other programming and content-related matters. These, I think, are going to be super helpful for people to understand what the project is. You'll see these pillars that we talked about: the opportunity, existing conditions, design choices, the scope, budget, what the CM at risk process is, the vote implications, and the financial impact. And so those are, there are scripts being written right now. The intention is for these to be released through a variety of mediums. So it could be Parent Square, it could be through social media, it could be through the project website. Anyone can share it. The intent is to start those beginning on Tuesday the 2nd, which is the day after Labor Day, and it's, in my opinion, when people have decided that summer's over and my kids are back in school and now it's go time. And so we think by doing it each Tuesday leading up until town meeting is a really good cadence. And ultimately, that will be compiled into a kind of 9 to 10 minute video, which I imagine we will utilize with various audiences. It could be at the town meeting members, the meeting on the 25th. We could use it throughout October. So I'm a big fan of these because people have a 2 to 3 minute, attention span. And that's what these do, and they provide information, and you just watch, and you can share. So I'm looking forward to those. So I'll stop there. I don't have much more to say about that.
Okay. All right. Any other topics not reasonably anticipated in the last 48 hours that anyone would like to talk about? All right. Upcoming meetings?
Yeah, upcoming meetings. So the one thing that, so we have a tentatively scheduled SBC meeting on the 28th of August. Right now, I'm not sure we're going to need that, but I will announce that as if necessary. That would be virtual only. The more importantly is what I mentioned previously is moving the 11th meeting up to the 9th. And I would ask that is actually with a hybrid option, because somebody notionally was going to be on vacation and was going to come back early for the 11th, but now there's 2 more days that he misses, and he would prefer to dial in. So that would be a hybrid meeting at 6 o'clock. You have a school committee meeting at 7, and the primary focus of that meeting will be to run through the 3011 that I mentioned before, which is just going to be, a representation of the budget that's going to, like Fox Hill, like what you submit to the MSBA, that's our number. That's what we're working towards. And so it will be important just to kind of ratify that, and that then gets submitted to the town for publication in town meeting materials. So I don't think we need a vote. I think I just need a nod of heads that works on the 9th. Yeah, so that's what we'll do. We talked about the community meeting on the 21st, info sessions. I think I've mentioned all these different meetings. We will have SBC meeting on the 9th. We'll have an SBC meeting on the 13th, which will be 2 days before, hopefully, a debt exclusion vote. So I'm pretty excited. We've done a ton of work, and I think we're in a really good spot right now, and looking forward to the next several weeks.
Thank you, Terry. Anyone want to make a
I have a,
Oops, Mimi?
yes.
I thought I recognized your voice.
Thank you. Yeah, this question was for earlier in Terry's presentation. I apologize for asking what I'm about to ask as the meeting is coming to an end, but I did have people who wanted this question asked, and I myself want it asked, and that is, if my memory is not faulty, this committee did not have a discussion about the debt exclusion vote date, or did we? I don't remember having that. So this is a 2-part question. Did this committee, talk about whether we wanted to have this as an independent vote or part of the general election in January? I can't remember, and I've been getting asked. I don't recall it. But what do you recall, folks?
Yeah, Mimi, we did talk about it.
We did talk about it. Did we vote on it?
I do not recall.
I don't think a specific vote was taken, Mimi. What I will say is that, I know it's been discussed within this committee at large, but then also in discussions, one with obviously some of the leadership on the committee here, and I think importantly, Ways and Means. And so Chris, Doug, I've had numerous discussions with them and on the Finance Working Committee, and we presented that option to the select board back in June because we thought it made the most sense. And so like I said, I don't think we had a specific vote here, but I think there was broad consensus that this was the right approach. And that's the way we've been working for the last several months.
Right. It may have been one of the meetings you missed, Mimi, but we did talk about it and what it would mean if we delayed the process to an April vote, that, we're running out of money to pay, Dora Whittier and Tapé, and you lose momentum, and we could potentially increase cost. I know, Doug, you had made some comments at the last meeting, if you want to chime in as well from a Ways and Means perspective.
He might be gone.
Is he gone or muted? But anyway, there was discussion on if it didn't.
Doug left.
Is Doug gone?
Catherine, I vaguely remember that about the April. I guess for me, the question is, a special election versus the general election, which brings out more people. I mean, it's moot in some way because so many of these committees and the planning has been around this, has been centered now on the November special election. I apologize for not raising it much sooner than this. But I think, I'm not going to even offer my opinion on it because it seems to be moot. But thank you for answering my question.
And I think too that I appreciate your comment on people showing up for the election, but I think that having this as a separate election might bring more people out as it being the only thing being voted on. And so they're only focusing on one thing. And this is such an important project that I think we need to focus on it as a separate item. Chris Campbell.
So I appreciate this, Mimi, because I think it is important because people will ask, why are we doing it in November? Why are we not doing it? I know that we've had conversation here as well as in Ways and Means, because it's definitely something that I'm passionate about, is doing the vote. One of the arguments that I personally made about not having this with our general election vote is because we shouldn't tie this to then political candidates and running. We should have this as solely just is this something the town wants? Yes or no? And trying to separate that from any other types of politics that could happen in a town election. And I think it's really important with such a high number. I do also believe that because we're talking about printing and ballots, there was going to still be excessive costs. So it's not a cost neutral, but there was going to be more costs adding it onto the general election as well. But I really think separating it out from a town election and really saying, straight, this is the only thing we're voting on. Is this what we want or not is really important for the town.
Thank you, Chris. And I appreciate you chiming in as Ways and Means since Doug left. All right, so if there...
Move we adjourn?
Second.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. This meeting is over.